Most days, airport security deals with the ordinary. But every so often, they uncover things so outrageous, they seem unreal. Think rocket launchers stuffed into bags, knives baked inside loaves of bread, and guns hidden in jars of peanut butter.
After a shocking discovery in the TSA security line.
That's right, 2 items resembling grenades were detected during the X-ray screening.
None of this is fiction. These are real finds that shocked airports worldwide. And if you think that sounds wild, wait until you see the rest. Here are 20 of the craziest discoveries ever caught. Number 20. A baby. In July of 2012, security officers at Sharjah International Airport ran a carry-on through the X-ray machine and froze. On the screen was the clear outline of a 5-month-old baby curled up inside.
They put a little baby, 5-month-old baby, through the X-ray machines at an airport.
The parents, an Egyptian couple, had just landed but didn't have entry papers for the child. Instead of waiting for immigration to process the documents, the father tried sneaking the baby through in their hand luggage. That move nearly ended in tragedy. X-ray machines are dangerous even for adults, and the thought of putting an infant through one left officials stunned. The image quickly went viral around the world. Prosecutors opened a case for endangering the child's life, and the couple was detained at the airport. What saved the baby was Sharjah's security setup. In the UAE, carry-ons are scanned again after passport control, and it was during that second screening that the operator spotted the tiny body and stopped the bag before it went any further. Number 19. A cannonball. Back in February of 2012, TSA agents at Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport unzipped a checked bag and froze. Inside wasn't clothes, shoes, or souvenirs. It was a cannonball. Not just rusty metal, but one covered in coral, freshly pulled from the ocean. The passenger, a diver, admitted he'd grabbed it near an 18th century shipwreck. That's when things got serious. The bomb squad rushed in, and the entire baggage area was cleared while experts figured out if this thing could still blow. Tests confirmed it wasn't harmless scrap. It was officially explosively viable. In other words, it could still go off. Here's why that wasn't overkill. Old shells from centuries past were often hollow, packed with black powder, and sealed with a fuse. Unlike modern explosives, black powder doesn't break down quickly. It can remain deadly for centuries, even after years sitting underwater. In fact, Civil War cannonballs are still found in the US today, and bomb teams usually detonate them on the spot because some are still live. TSA is crystal clear about it now. Anything with gunpowder is banned from luggage. That includes black powder, percussion caps, and even antique ammunition. And yes, people still try. At Hawaii's Kahului Airport, officers once found a bag holding both a cannonball and an antique flare gun. Just like in Florida, the bomb squad had to step in until they were sure it was safe. Number 18. Snakes in the pants. In July of 2024, customs officers at Futian Port in Shenzhen, China, stopped a man walking in from Hong Kong because his trousers looked unusually bulky. Inside his pockets, they discovered 6 taped canvas bags, each one squirming. When they opened them, they counted 104 live snakes of different colors and sizes. The haul included milk snakes, western hognose snakes, corn snakes, Texas rat snakes, and bull snakes, species common in the exotic pet trade, but not native to China. None were venomous, but the risk wasn't about fangs. Officials flagged the shipment as a threat of spreading invasive species. Customs released video and photos showing the clear inner bags writhing with young snakes. The traveler was detained while the animals were seized. Number 17. A horsehead with secrets. In May of 2016, customs officers at Auckland International Airport came across a shipment that didn't add up. It was a giant, glittering horsehead statue flown in from Mexico with a stop in Hong Kong. But it weighed nearly 900 pounds, way too heavy for simple decor. When officers drilled into it, they hit the jackpot. 35 bricks of weighing a total of about 77 pounds, hidden inside the horse's hollow frame. Instead of pulling everything out, they replaced most of the bricks with fakes, added a tracker, and quietly waited to see who would show up. 2 men arrived from Hawaii. Ronald Wayne Cook Sr. from the United States and Agustin Suarez from Mexico. They started scoping out drop spots around Auckland and later met up with a buyer, Henry Anchondo, at the Crown Plaza downtown. But the deal fell apart. Cook and Suarez were arrested at the airport while trying to leave, and Anchondo bolted before being caught months later in Whangarei. At the time, it was New Zealand's largest ever cocaine bust, valued at around 14 million New Zealand dollars. Sentences were tough. Suarez was given 19 years and 9 months. Cook got 17 years and 9 months. And Anchondo, who later pled guilty, was handed 3 years and 8 months. Number 16. Tiger cub in a suitcase. In August of 2010, screeners at Bangkok's Suvarnabhumi Airport ran an oversized checked bag through the X-ray and froze. The image didn't just show stuffed animals, it showed bones and a faint heartbeat. When officers opened the bag, they found a 2-month-old tiger cub, sedated and packed among plush toy tigers. The passenger was a 31-year-old Thai woman checking in for a Mahan Air flight to Iran.
Authorities at Bangkok's International Airport found a drugged tiger cub hidden alongside a stuffed toy tiger in the suitcase of a woman flying from Thailand to Iran.
She was detained immediately, and the cub was seized alive. Wildlife officers rushed the baby tiger to veterinary care under Thailand's Department of National Parks, Wildlife, and Plant Conservation. Investigators said they would run DNA tests to find out whether the cub came from a breeding facility or was poached from the wild. Either way, the international trade in tigers is banned, and moving a live cub in a suitcase is flat-out illegal. Number 15. Stuffed chicken. On September 27, 2022, just after 6 in the morning at Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport, screeners pulled a raw Kikiri Quirch brand chicken out of a checked bag. What they didn't expect was what was stuffed inside. Wrapped in plastic, tucked in the bird's cavity, was a handgun. Because the passenger was headed on an international flight to Port-au-Prince, Haiti, U.S. Customs and Border Protection got involved immediately. TSA later posted photos on Instagram loaded with chicken puns, and that's how the story went viral in November.
Passenger busted for trying to conceal a gun from TSA in a really unsafe and unusual way. TSA posted a picture on Instagram of the weapon inside a raw chicken.
But the humor only goes so far. Florida airports were already in the middle of a record-setting year, with more than 700 guns stopped at checkpoints by early November. Officers weren't taking any chances. The rule is straightforward. If you're flying with a firearm, it has to be unloaded, locked in a hard-sided case, and declared to the airline. It goes into checked baggage, never carry on, never loose in a suitcase, and definitely not hidden in a chicken. Breaking that rule can hit you with a civil fine as high as $14,950 and possible criminal charges. And nationwide, the problem is only growing. In 2024, TSA found 6,678 firearms at checkpoints, 94% of them loaded. Number 14. Snakes and more. In March of 2017, inspectors at the Los Angeles International Mail Facility opened a package from Hong Kong that just didn't feel right. Inside were 3 potato chip cans, but instead of snacks, each can held a live king cobra.
Smugglers of exotic animals get creative in their attempt to bring snakes here to the U.S. Investigators say 3 live king cobras were mailed from Hong Kong to Los Angeles. Yep, inside cans of potato chips.
The snakes were about 2 feet long. And if that wasn't enough, the same box also carried 3 albino Chinese soft-shelled turtles. Agents removed the cobras immediately but allowed the turtles to be delivered under surveillance. That led them to an apartment in Monterey Park, California. When officers served the search warrant, what they found looked more like a private zoo. Tanks in the home, and even inside a child's bedroom, held a young Moralettes crocodile, an alligator snapping turtle, a common snapping turtle, and 5 diamondback terrapins, all species protected by federal law. The suspect, Rodrigo Franco, admitted he had already received 20 king cobras in earlier shipments, but claimed they died during transport. Investigators didn't buy it. His phone was full of messages with a contact in Asia, discussing shipments of turtles and snakes moving back and forth. Franco was arrested on July 25, 2017, and later pleaded guilty to federal smuggling charges. On January 23, 2018, a judge sentenced him to 5 months in prison, a $4,500 fine, and 2 years of supervised release. Number 13. Luggage full of bang. On December 15, 2024, around 10 p.m. at Los Angeles International Airport, TSA agents at Terminal 4 opened a suspiciously heavy carry-on. What they found inside stopped them cold. 82 consumer-grade fireworks, 3 knives, 2 replica guns, and a single can of pepper spray. The passenger, a woman headed to Philadelphia, was detained as LAWA police, and the bomb squad took over. TSA described the stash as extremely concerning, not just because of the banned items, but because of the sheer number packed into one bag. If you ever needed a blueprint for what not to do when flying, this bag delivered it in spectacular fashion. Number 12. Cocaine-stuffed wig. On February 20th, 2025, police at Cartagena's Rafael Núñez International Airport in Colombia stopped a 40-year-old man trying to board a flight to Amsterdam. Officers noticed something off about his hair. A quick scan and pat-down confirmed their suspicion. The wig came off, and underneath were 19 capsules of cocaine taped to his scalp. The stash weighed about 220 grams, roughly 7.8 ounces, worth around 10,000 euros, or about $10,500. Police released video of the bust just days later. Cartagena's police commander, Brigadier General Gelver Yechid Peña Araque, said the man had been flagged by profiling experts before he reached the scanner. Once the wig was lifted, field tests confirmed the drugs. Authorities said the capsules added up to about 400 doses. The suspect, from Pereira, Colombia, already had 2 prior trafficking records and was quickly handed to prosecutors. This wasn't even the first time smugglers tried the wig trick. In 2019, Spanish police at Barcelona El Prat stopped a passenger from Bogotá who had glued more than 500 grams of cocaine under a huge, lopsided toupee. That case also went viral, mostly because the hairpiece looked ridiculous. Number 11. Tarantulas. On October 3, 2012, Dutch customs officers at Amsterdam's Schiphol Airport cracked open a suitcase that gave them chills. Packed inside weren't clothes or gifts, but around 200 live tarantulas. The travelers, a German couple flying in from Peru, had stuffed the spiders into plastic boxes and tubes hidden between socks, shirts, and even inside their shoes. Along with the tarantulas were centipedes, crickets, beetles, and grasshoppers. Officials said many of the species were rare, some barely known to science. The animals were seized on the spot and handed over to the Dutch Food and Consumer Authority for safekeeping. Reports from that day said the couple claimed they'd collected the creatures themselves in Peru. But customs quickly pointed out the obvious risk. Tarantulas and centipedes are venomous, and these weren't carefully packed. They were scattered through clothing. Early coverage didn't list charges, but the stash never made it past security. And this wasn't an isolated case. The exotic pet trade keeps trying to slip spiders through airports. Fast forward to July of 2025. German customs at Cologne Bonn Airport opened what they thought were cake boxes shipped from Vietnam. Instead of sponge cake, they found about 1,500 baby tarantulas packed in tiny plastic cups. The smell gave it away. Many of the spiders didn't survive, but the rest were sent to handlers, while a criminal case was opened for animal welfare violations and unpaid import duties. Number 10. Tropical fish. On June 3, 2005, customs officers at Melbourne Airport kept hearing a faint flipping sound near a passenger's waist. When they searched her, the mystery was solved. Under her dress was a homemade apron lined with 15 water-filled pockets, each one holding a bag of tropical fish. In total, there were 51 live fish strapped to her body. The passenger was Sharon Naismith, arriving from Singapore. Officers immediately seized the animals, and photos later showed rows of clear bags pulled from beneath her skirt. Among them were 14 catfish and a rare Asian arowana, a species so prized on the black market that customs said it could fetch tens of thousands of dollars. A follow-up search of her home turned up 5 more fish. At the time, the penalties were steep. Illegal wildlife imports could mean fines of up to 110,000 Australian dollars and as much as 10 years in prison. In March 2007, Naismith pleaded guilty to attempting to import regulated wildlife and was sentenced to 9 months of community service. Number 9. Sword at the Gate. In October of 2024, TSA officers at New York's LaGuardia Airport ran a carry-on bag through the X-ray and froze. The outline on the screen was unmistakable. When they opened the bag, out came a full katana, a samurai-style sword. The passenger, a woman flying out of New York, had her weapon seized on the spot. Port Authority police wrote her a summons for court, and her travel plans ended right there. TSA later reminded everyone of the rule. Swords are never allowed in carry-ons. If you absolutely must fly with one, it belongs in checked baggage, sheathed or wrapped tight so it can't injure anyone handling the bag. And this wasn't even the first sword to pop up at LaGuardia. Back in December of 2021, TSA officers confiscated another sword at the checkpoint. Whether real or replica, swords are treated as dangerous weapons. Number 8. Locked and loaded in JFK. Just before Christmas, on December 22, 2022, alarms went off in the checked baggage screening room at Terminal 8 of New York's JFK Airport. TSA officers opened a suspicious suitcase and found 2 plastic jars of Jif peanut butter that looked factory sealed. But when they cut them open, they weren't full of peanut butter alone. Inside were pieces of a .22 caliber semi-automatic handgun wrapped in plastic, along with a loaded magazine shoved right through the middle of the spread. Officers snapped photos of the sticky weapon parts and immediately called Port Authority police. They tracked down the passenger in the terminal, a man from Rhode Island, and arrested him on the spot. TSA later put the bizarre bust on its annual Top 10 Unusual Finds list, joking that the concealment was smooth and creamy, but the smuggling attempt definitely wasn't. Number 7. Blade in a bread. On November 22, 2023, the day before Thanksgiving, officers at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport spotted a strange block on the X-ray. They pulled the bag, opened a store-bought loaf of keto bread, and found a folding pocket knife shoved straight through the middle. TSA's Pacific Northwest team posted the photo that morning, and the bread knife jokes wrote themselves. Regional spokesperson Lori Dankers explained why it was caught so fast. Food shows up light on X-ray, while metal blades stand out dark and sharp. So what happened after? TSA said the traveler would face a civil fine for trying to conceal the knife. No name was released, no public arrest made. The blade was taken and logged, and the person was cited before moving on. Number 6. Rocket launcher revelation. On January 16, 2023, baggage screeners at San Antonio International Airport opened a hard case and were stunned by what they saw. Inside was an 84mm Carl Gustaf recoilless rifle, the same shoulder-fired launcher the U.S. military calls the MAAWS. At first, officials said the passenger hadn't declared it. The next day, they corrected themselves. The traveler had declared it with the airline, but TSA was never told. That disconnect meant the bag was flagged in the back-of-house X-ray, and officers stopped everything. San Antonio police pulled the passenger aside. He explained the launcher was demilitarized and bound for the SHOT show in Las Vegas as a display piece. He even had paperwork, and TSA's explosives specialist confirmed it could not fire. But rules are rules. Supervisors still said it wasn't flying. The launcher was held at San Antonio and never made the flight. Why the fuss? Because the Carl Gustaf is a real Swedish-designed anti-armor weapon used worldwide. It can fire bunker-busting and anti-tank rounds, and even an inert tube sparks concern if the paperwork chain breaks. Number 5. Crab boil contraband. In late October of 2023, officers at Louis Armstrong New Orleans International Airport pulled aside a bag after the X-ray raised suspicion. When they opened it, they found something that looked familiar to anyone in Louisiana: a 3-pound tub of Zatarain's Pro-Boil crab boil seasoning. At first glance, it looked perfectly factory sealed, but a closer check told another story. The paper seal on top had been carefully peeled and glued back down, and inside was a gallon-sized Ziploc wrapped tightly in blue painter's tape. Packed inside that bag was about 1 pound of crystal meth. TSA officers photographed the jar and the taped bundle, then turned everything over to law enforcement. A passenger was quickly located, arrested right there in the airport, and federally charged. What made the story blow up online was how recognizable the product was. In Louisiana, that Zatarain's jar is practically a household staple. Seeing it repurposed into a drug stash was both surreal and, honestly, pretty dumb. The X-ray had no trouble spotting the dense mass and the hidden plastic. When TSA released its annual Top 10 catches in January of 2024,
in the TSA's best catches of 2023.
Kind of ominous. TSA officers discovered a pound of crystal meth hidden inside a crab boil seasoning powder container.
The crab boil meth jar made the list. Number 4. Snake in a suitcase. Just before Christmas in December of 2022, TSA officers at Tampa International were running bags through the checkpoint when one X-ray lit up with a perfect coil. Inside a carry-on was a live boa constrictor measuring about 4 feet long. The owner told officers the snake's name was Bartholomew and insisted he was her emotional support pet. TSA snapped a photo of the orange-tinted X-ray image and later pushed the story online. By the time the post circulated in early January of 2023, local Tampa outlets and national news sites had all picked it up. Once the airline was notified, staff refused to let the snake on board under any circumstances. There was no arrest, and the woman was not named publicly, but she didn't fly with Bartholomew that day. The boa was unharmed, taken home safely, and became a brief internet star thanks to the viral X-ray image. Number 3. Pet in a bag. On December 6, 2022, security officers at Dane County Regional Airport in Madison, Wisconsin, were running carry-ons through the X-ray when one image made them stop instantly. On the monitor was the unmistakable outline of a small dog curled inside a backpack. The bag belonged to a woman who had left her Chihuahua Dachshund mix zipped up inside. Officers immediately pulled the pack off the belt, unzipped it, and found the pup alive and well. Why would anyone put a live dog through the scanner? According to TSA's Wisconsin stakeholder manager, it looked more like ignorance than malice. The woman likely didn't know the proper procedure. There was no vet emergency, no drama, just a lot of warnings afterward from TSA urging people not to repeat the mistake. The incident fit into a wave of pet mishaps that same holiday season, including the viral story of the orange tabby cat found in a checked suitcase at JFK only 2 weeks earlier. In the end, the dog was unharmed and handed back to the owner, who was counseled on the spot and allowed to continue after going through security the right way. Number 2. Ninja Luggage Alert. On May 7, 2016, TSA officers at New York's LaGuardia Airport stopped a carry-on bag that looked suspicious on the X-ray. When they opened it, they found what looked like a martial arts weapons kit. Inside were a dagger, 3 throwing knives, 1 traditional throwing star, and even an expandable star, the folding kind often sold online. The passenger was a man from New Haven, Connecticut. Port Authority police were called immediately, and he was arrested at the checkpoint. TSA used the photos as a warning to other passengers. If you try to fly with knives, daggers, or stars tucked in your carry-on, the only thing waiting for you on the other side of the X-ray is a pair of handcuffs. Number 1. Knife in laptop. On November 11, 2022, a carry-on bag rolled through security at Richmond International Airport in Virginia, and something strange popped up on the X-ray. It looked exactly like a knife buried inside a laptop. TSA officers pulled the bag, took the laptop out, and ran everything through the scanner again. The shape was still there. With help from airport police, they opened the computer and pulled out a double-edged blade hidden inside the casing. The passenger, a man from Williamsburg, first tried to claim he didn't know about it, but quickly admitted the weapon was his. TSA called it an artfully concealed attempt, and the case landed on their official top 10 catches of 2022. The man missed his flight and left the checkpoint with the police instead. Here's the rule: knives are banned in carry-on luggage, period. If you need to bring one, it has to go in checked baggage, properly sheathed. Try sneaking it through security, and you're looking at a federal fine that can climb into the 5 figures, up to $15,000 today, and potential criminal charges. Thanks for watching. Now check out the videos popping up on screen for more unbelievable stories.